indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Mayor Kenny.
Here.
Councilmember Cody.
Here.
Councilmember Zelinski.
Here.
Councilmember Bitsby.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Whitliff.
Here.
Councilmember Gusted.
Here.
Interim City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Sergeant. Police Department Sergeant.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizen comments on agenda-related items. Is there anyone who'd like to comment on tonight's agenda? Yes, sir. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Okay, I'm Gary Kotulski, summer resident of Manistee, 159 Quincy Street. I want to comment basically on 3 agenda items, and I'm going to go the first 2 are pretty quick. The first one is the road patch. Within the documentation, the road patch is planned at an address of 157 Quincy Street. However, there is no 157 Quincy Street. My address is 159 and it goes to 145. So that's a question where it's going to be performed. My mother recently purchased that lot next door to her, and it has no address, and it was combined to be with 159. So I'd like to know, where that's going to occur and what the reason for that patch, since that's the only section of Quincy Street that doesn't have potholes every 2 feet away. I want to comment a little bit about the 5th Avenue concession stand. That's on the agenda as well. I just feel there's a total lack of control by the city, especially what occurred over the last 2 years with the operators of that stand. I made phone calls. I tend to investigate what's going on in Manistee. I understand there was a private catering service ran out of that plant. There was improper operations not approved by the health department. So the city of Manistee needs to understand when visitors come to the beach and they see a public restroom and concession stand, that is a reflection on the city. I was down there last year, and people approached me, why isn't the concession stand open? And they viewed it as a city of Manistee issue. So I really hope that the city has put controls in and is going to have someone watch the operation, or we need to get it up and running. Last agenda item is the Ramsdale governing authority elimination. I'm glad to see that happen. The Ramsdale has been a disaster over the last 10 years, financially. And however, what message has been sent to the public when the governing authority had no quorum to meet earlier in the year? There was no response to the city manager meeting request. There's also, I read, only one response from the board to the manager on basically his correspondence, his email. Okay, so it almost appears like now that the issues have been made known publicly, everyone just scattered and ran. Okay, next thing is a lack of support. Let's look at donations once again. $668 of donations in 2014. The projection for 2015 lowered the anticipated donation by 85% of the budget. If you add what occurred from 2005 through 2014, add the projection of 2015, add the $500 that the JC just donated, you're about $15,000 for a 10-year period of time. I sincerely hope that when an interim management is put inside there, a new finance person is put there. Ramsdale deserves better than the finance person that's in there now. There is no excuse why donations have not been raised in the past. That took an effort. Now you're going to do a study, my understanding. What do you think the study is going to tell you? Unique contributions or donations. So that's it. Those are the 3 items I wanted to briefly speak to. Thank you.
Does anyone else would like to comment on tonight's agenda?
I'm Nancy Lyman, and I live in Lighthouse Landing also, the other thing is that the heavy donors are dying off. And so our problem at the moment is encouraging a younger bunch of people. And if that younger bunch of people is doing elder care and raising a family, they're caught in bind as well. So this isn't the easiest thing to do. But the whole point of all this is that it's a monumentally historic building which belongs to the city, and it's a living, breathing place for activities in the arts, all of the arts. And many of our young people have gone on from performing either in dance or theater or art, the visual arts, to do something exciting in their lives. And for some it's their first exposure, maybe for some their last, but this is a worthy thing. And this is also a historic building. I don't think you're thinking about what it costs every day to have the janitor pick up empty cups. We probably on our way, but you aren't ready to throw it out with the wash. And I'd like to have you think quite seriously about the future of the Ramsdale. And we understand the burdens of it. There is a group called Friends of the Ramsdale, which I'm technically president of, and we do have an endowment with the Manistee County Community Foundation. And there are funds from that endowment which we can use. For instance, currently there's a rip in the act curtain, which is the most valuable piece in the theater. And we can use some of that endowment money to hire the artists to get the original work. And we can repair it and take care of that. So please keep it in your hearts.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to comment on tonight's agenda?
Linda Beaton, 256 Hughes Street. I'm here to just speak specifically about the concession stand. I can tell you from my personal experience, my professional experience of working with buyers from out of town, that a few years ago when Eddie Mack was running that concession stand, I had nothing but great comments and compliments. I would send people to dinner over there, and they loved it. They loved being able to sit on the beach, and they loved the food. Now, I don't know what the controversy are or what kind of controls are put into place. I know Eddie Scott also has a very good customer service presentation. People love his sense of humor, so I'm here to just support him. But if we need tighter controls as to what can be served in there, I think that the council should look at that and keep the general public in mind to make sure that everything that we do reflects all of the whistles and bells that a government would want on a city-run operation. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to comment on tonight's agenda? So now we'll move on to the consent agenda. All agenda items marked with an asterisk on the consent agenda are considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Consent agenda items include approval of minutes, approval of payroll, cash balances report, notification regarding next work session, consideration for festival events, and consideration back to the Briggs Car Show.
I'll make the motion that the council take action to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I would like to remove consideration of the Back to Briggs Car Show from the consent agenda.
Any other discussion? We'll go ahead and remove the consent, or item D, consideration back to the Briggs Car Show, and put it back into its normal agenda item. Is there any other concerns or questions with the change to the consent agenda? So we'll approve the consent agenda, approval of minutes through items, through consideration for festival events. And put consideration back to the Briggs Car Show back into the normal
Do you need a second for any of this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second. His and his.
We've done that.
Removal from the consent agenda does not require a motion. Any
Okay.
council member can do it on a single voice.
Okay. There's anything else? Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
And Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. New business. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has previously advertised vacancies on various boards and commissions. Vacancies still exist on the Compensation Commission, the Downtown Development Authority, Harbor Commission, Housing Commission, PEG Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals. All appointments by the mayor are subject to council approval unless otherwise specified by statute or ordinance. The following application has been received. For the Housing Commission, it's one vacancy, a 5-year term ending 5/31/2020. This is a mayoral appointment. One application is Albert Purdom of 369 River Street. I'd like to appoint Albert Purdom to the Housing Commission.
I'll make a motion to support the mayor's appointment of Albert Burden to the Housing Commission.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed, supported by Councilmember Cody, to appoint Albert Purdom to the Housing Commission for a 5-year term ending 5/31/2020. Is there any discussion? Shall, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
And Mayor Kenny?
Yes,
Motion approved.
thank you. Then I would just go ahead and advertise for the remaining open positions on the boards. Next, we have consideration of a riverfront lease assignment, Little River Management LLC. On December 12, 2012, the city leased riverfront property that it owns to the adjacent property owner, Little River Management LLC, the Riverside Motel. The Riverside Motel has recently been sold to Nancy Carroll Crosdell. Consistent with the city's practice of maintaining lease of the riverfront to the adjacent property owner, the parties have requested that the riverfront lease be assigned to Ms. Crosdell. The interim city manager and city attorney have reviewed the documents and recommend that this assignment be approved. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that council take action to authorize the riverfront lease agreement from Little River Management LLC to Nancy Carroll Crosdale and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign and record the necessary documents.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gudstad, supported by Councilmember Cody, to authorize the riverfront lease assignment. Is there any discussion on this? Will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of bids received for Fifth Avenue Beach concessions. Last year, City Council awarded a 3-year contract for concessions at Fifth Avenue Beach. The contract was terminated after the first year. Bids were solicited for the remaining 2-year term, the 2015 and 2016 seasons. 2 bids were received. A committee was formed consisting of 3 members of the Parks and Beautification Commission, the Parks Leadman, and the DPW Director. The committee reviewed submittals and interviewed the vendors. The committee has recommended Eddie Scott as a concessionaire for the 2015 and 2016 season. Mr. Scott's bid is to pay the city $250 a month for the concession rights to Fifth Avenue Beach. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that council take action to approve the bid submitted by Mr. Eddie Scott for the concession rights to Fifth Avenue Beach for 2015 and 2016 season, and authorize DPW Director and City Clerk to execute that service agreement. Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gunstad, supported by Councilmember Zelinski, to approve the bid by Mr. Eddie Scott. Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I thought Eddie did a nice job down there when he was down. He kept the place clean and, like Ms. Beaton said, that, people were told to go down there. He had good ribs and stuff like that. I thought he did a good job. I support it.
I've Just a quick question about some of the controls that were brought up this evening. Have we looked at putting in some additional, checking our monitoring systems for the concessions down there? Both First and Fifth Street with that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I mean, some of the concerns we had from before were from the health department, from residents about cleanliness. And are we prepared to visit those frequently and address those concerns with the vendor?
Yes,
Thank you.
Who's going to do it then?
DPW director and staff.
Okay.
Is there any other questions, comments? Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodruff,
Yes.
Councilmember Gaston,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cody,
Yes.
and Mayor Kenny.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of bids received for miscellaneous road patches and paving. The Department of Public Works routinely bids out paving patches on the city streets. The patches are created by private contractors, as skewed accounts, water service and main repairs, sewer repairs, etc. 2 large water main replacements account for the majority of the paving this spring. 2 bids were received, Team Elmers for $40,500 and Meath Riley for $70,314. Is there a motion to award to the low bid?
Make a motion to take action to award the low bid received for miscellaneous road patches and paving in the amount of $40,500 to Team Elmers.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Smith, supported by Councilmember Zelinski, to approve the road patch and paving to Team Elmers for $40,500. Is there any discussion?
I'm surprised at the disparity in the bid, the amount of money difference between the two of them. And I would like to also make sure we address the concerns that were brought about the accuracy of the addresses for the patches being done. Mr. McCollum?
First off, there are really 3 paving contractors that are available to us. Reith Riley out of Ludington, Elmers out of Traverse City, and then Ron Brown and Son out of Bear Lake. We require a specified material to be put on the city streets and have not received bids from Ron Brown and Sons for several years. Typically, these patch projects are in the $5,000, $8,000 range in the spring. But as you can see, we had a very large one for Hancock Street. We bid those out, advertised it, we sent it out to all the vendors. Routinely, we've seen Reith Riley coming in pretty high on the small projects. I think they're targeting a lot of the bigger construction projects. We're also seeing a sign of the economic recovery where there's a lot of construction work that's happening now, and the amount of bids are coming down, and the competitiveness isn't where it was a couple years ago. As far as the list, each one of those are a gravel patch that exists in the roadway now. So if there's an address that didn't match up on it, it was probably a typo. But I know that there was a service line replacement that was on Quincy Street, and this is to repair that patch. In addition to that list, there's already been several more patches that will be added to that, and those are escrowed accounts. 2 that we had to dig up, and then 2 more that are escrowed where the contractor pays us a deposit. They've elected to have us pay it, and then we deduct the amount and refund them the difference. So.
One of those are on 12th Street then.
There is an escrowed one on 12th Street. The one that goes all the way across near 14th is one of those customer patches that we'll be doing.
By the high school.
Oh, the one by the high school, yes. I'm sorry, I was thinking Main Street. Yeah, the one by the high school. They just paved the driveway, but they didn't have spec asphalt to put in that patch. So the contractor's having us do that.
You mentioned 2 new ones?
There's one over on Washington Street, and then we had a service leak last week on 6th Street. And then there's a building down on River Street that's planning to put in fire suppression. They're trying to get the work scheduled so that we can patch that. It's the most cost-effective way for them to do that.
Thank you.
And then we're also going to see if we can work in the parking lot down at the new Rotary Park.
Pine Street on that list?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Concern? Can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Cody,
Yes.
Mayor Kenny,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of bids received for Riverwalk railing painting. Manistee Main Street DDA has taken action to solicit bids to repaint the Riverwalk railing system this summer, spring and summer. Bids are to be received on June 5th, with action by the DDA board expected on June 10th, 2015. The cost of the work, estimated at $28,000, is to be paid by the city-held Riverwalk maintenance account with a current balance of approximately $50,000. With the summer rapidly approaching, the DDA has requested City Council authorization to award the contract in the amount not to exceed $30,000 in order to expedite this work. The interim city manager concurs in this approach. Is there a motion to authorize the DDA to award a contract?
I'll make a motion to take action to authorize the DDA to award a contract for the repainting of Riverwalk railing system to the low responsible bidder in an amount not to exceed $30,000, with funds to be provided by the city from the Riverwalk maintenance account held by the city.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Smith, supported by Councilmember Cody, to award the DDA a contract to paint the Riverwalk railing system. Is there any discussion? Comments?
Yes. Is that, there's only been, one bid?
Not yet.
One bid? Is that all we got?
It has been re-advertised and bids are to be received until June 5.
Okay.
Last time we saw proposals and only one bid was received.
Okay, they also did work for us before this, right?
They did, they painted the streetlights downtown.
How often do the rails need painted?
The first time.
We're trying to use a new system now with the electrostatic style painting, and we're hoping to get at least 10 years, if not more, out of this particular painting.
They may not have been painted since installation.
I don't recall they've ever been repainted.
I don't know if they have.
They have.
They have? When?
And it's probably been 5-6 years ago.
Are they warranting this?
Last time I checked, the warranty at least 8 years on there. They couldn't do anything more than that. The installation process, they're gonna sand all the way back down to the original metal on there, and then also they use the electrostatic paint to adhere the paint directly to the railing.
No, they're not going to sand the entire railing down, just the spots that are in need? Is that what they're going to do, or?
I know they'll definitely be the ones that are the rust is really bad. I'll have to verify with the contract about that, exactly what's gonna be, if they're gonna be sanding down the whole thing. I don't know that.
It'll be sanding or sandblasting or?
It'll be sanding of some sort to take all the rust off the.
But they're not gonna do the whole railing, right? I mean, they'll be cupping it up with a little bit, but they're not gonna be sanding everything down to bare metal.
I don't think so, but I can check and make sure.
I believe the previous attachment with that indicated that they do chemical stripping as well as hand sanding and apply a protective coat plus an additional coat, clear coat over that.
I heard that too, yeah.
That's consistent with the specifications in the RFP.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
We're planning on having this taken care of. If it's approved by council tonight and the only bid that comes in is the one that's existing, we're planning on to have this done and be taken care of by the end of this month.
Thank you. Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Gustet,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cody,
Yes.
and Mayor Kenny.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of introducing ordinance 15-06, repealing chapter 253 of the Code of Ordinances, the Ramsdale Theater Civic and Cultural Center Governing Authority. For several years, the city has been subsidizing the operation of the Ramsdale Theater and Hall to approximately $100,000 per year, reduced to $90,000 in the forthcoming budget. The Ramsdale has been operating under the direction of the Ramsdale Governing Authority since 2005, when chapter 253 of the code was adopted. For some time, there has been a growing recognition that the current funding model and the current governing model needs to be changed to create a more successful future for the Ramsdale. AES has recently awarded a contract with Johnson Consulting in the amount of $22,000 to review and develop recommendations on a funding and governing model going forward. All of the funds to pay for that study have been generated by the AES fundraising efforts. On February 13, 2015, the City Council Ordinance Committee met to review and discuss this matter. One of their conclusions was that Chapter 253 should be substantially modified or simply revoked. On May 6, 2015, the interim city manager corresponded with all of the members of the current governing authority, indicating his intent to bring the rescission of Chapter 253 to the City Council in the near future, inviting discussion on the topic if the members of the governing authority so desired. One member emailed the interim city manager. Because there is a current effort to revitalize the funding and governing model for the Ramsdale, and because there was little response to the interim city manager's invitation to meet and discuss the matter, and because the ordinance committee met on February 13, 2015 to discuss this matter and generally reached the same conclusion, the interim city manager recommends that the city council take action to repeal chapter 253 of the Code of Ordinances, the Ramsdale Theater Civic and Cultural Center Governing Authority. As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. Is there a motion to take action?
I'll make a motion that council take action, introduce ordinance 1506, repealing chapter 253 of the Code of Ordinances, the Ramsdale Theater Civic and Cultural Center Governing Authority.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gudstad, supported by Councilmember Whitliff, to introduce ordinance 1506, repealing chapter 253. Is there any discussion?
As I understand it, with the AES fundraising, there's no cost to the city for this study?
Actually, some of the funds that were previously pledged to the operation of the Ramsdale could be redirected if necessary to complete funding on the study, but there's no additional general fund obligation.
I would like to say, as a member of the Ramsdale Governing Authority, that a lot of people have put considerable energy and time in the past. It wasn't necessarily successful from a cost point of view, but repealing the ordinance should not reflect on the efforts of those people. Just a difficult situation to deal with, and hopefully going forward we'll find a solution that makes it economically viable and continues the operation.
I would agree entirely.
And just for the clarity for the public and for the folks here tonight, this repealing of this ordinance doesn't dissolve anything from operational standpoint. Can you explain a little bit of that?
It makes no changes of any kind operation. It will be in the day-to-day operations. In the governance, it will make a difference because governance issues won't go to the authority. They'll be handled internally by the city staff. But the executive director will stay on board as he has been yesterday. He will be tomorrow. The schedule remains unaffected. Contracted maintenance is unaffected. There's no effect on the day-to-day operations of the Ramsdale at this time. It's really a matter of cleaning the slate so we can look for a better future coming out of this next study being sponsored by the
Yeah, and I think that was a discussion we had a while back, and I just wanted the public to know that that's intent is not to get rid of the Ramsdale on any level. I think most of the council here believes that it is a cultural cornerstone of this community and has been for over 100 years, and it's not something that we take lightly, and that we know there's some challenges there, but we're trying to resolve those.
And to clarify even that again, my purpose in the recommendation is to make a better future for the Ramsdale, not to make a worse future.
Thank you.
And I just want to mention that we did have a work session a couple months ago where all the stakeholders involved with the Ramsdale Theater were invited and they did show up. And just because this said that there was no response to interim city manager doesn't mean there wasn't any interest on their part. It's just that it had been discussed, and I think everybody realized there needs to be a change to hope for keep the Ramsdale successful. I just wanted to make that comment. Is there any other discussion?
I agree.
Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
And Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to notices, communication, and...
Trustee.
We'll move on to a report from the Brownfield consultant. As a part of each council meeting, we hear from a cooperating agency, organization, or department. Tonight, we'll hear from Mr. T. No?
Mr. Bradford.
Mr. Bradford.
And T is here to answer any questions that I can't answer.
Well, I can say your last name a lot easier.
Quickly, just a kind of a little review of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. It's been in existence for about 8 years and established under the auspices of the Brownfield Redevelopment Act. The board member is Clinton McKinnon-Covis, chair. He's also the Housing Commission executive director. Don Cook is the vice chair. Steve Brower, secretary treasurer. The other board members are Dave Carlson, Marlene McBride, Jeff Steggy, and Frank Beaver. We typically meet quarterly, or we'll schedule special meetings as the workload requires. I'm the Brownfield administrator. I went into that role when Mr. Rose retired from the city. Denise Blakesley is the recording secretary. She does a fine job on keeping all that organized and the files up to date and the accurate minutes. I'd like to thank her for that. And Tia Taxiadis is the city's Brownfield consultant. Quickly, some of the responsibilities. The main mission of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority is to facilitate the redevelopment of brownfield sites. And when people think about brownfield sites, they typically think of heavy industrial contaminated properties. But the definition is actually much broader than that. It can be composed of contaminated properties, like we said, but also functionally obsolete, which means buildings that are no longer capable of serving the purpose that they were originally designed. Blighted property, or just recently, any historic property can also qualify as a brownfield facility under this act. Some of the work that's done, environmental assessments and cleanups, grant funding, seeking that out from the EPA. We've been very successful in doing that. State grants and loans are also available for certain types of brownfield projects. Tax increment financing, which is a fundamental financing opportunity for brownfield development authorities and is typically built into all of our plans. Local site remediation revolving fund, which we do not have currently, but as we have more projects, we intend to build up. And what that is that's a fund that is created through the capture of tax increment financing dollars and used to continue to perpetuate the Brownfield Authority and make it move forward. One item on here, the Brownfield Act allows the authorities to borrow and issue bonds, notes, and invest assets. Our authority can do that, but it has to be done with the approval of City Council. So just to clarify that, it can't be done unilaterally. And then we can undertake some other activities as well. What are the funding sources for the BRA? Well, primarily applicant fees. So after we've provided and worked with potential applicants at a base level that's just provided for free, then we require them to submit an application and pay a fee if they want to move forward. We also can capture administrative fees from the tax increment financing. The authority has not done that yet because we haven't had any active plans that have generated TIF yet to be able to do that. As I mentioned, the local site remediation fund, which in the future will be able to provide money. And then also grants and loans. We've received about $1.24 million in grants, primarily for the Reed Riley project, but also we've received some EPA grants. We had a petroleum impacted site and a hazardous material impacted site. And those grants stretched out for a number of years. As the economy went down, there was less and less people that were willing to have their sites evaluated, but eventually we get through that and extended almost all of the money. So it's been very successful. That's been a primary source of funding for the Brownfield Authority. An example of some of the grants and loan work, there was some work on the Peninsula property. The lower left corner there, some asbestos work. The middle one with the crane is the 334 River Street property, Golden Apple, I believe they used to call that. And then the building there on 31, which is the quilting shop now, we've done some baseline assessment, but we've done over 30 of these environmental assessments throughout the city. That information is available for prospective developers if they come in and are interested in one of these sites. So that's a real benefit for looking at redevelopment. Ongoing brownfield TIF projects, two primarily, American Materials Reeve Riley, which, as you know, is the bulk material handling and the asphalt terminal down on Manistee Lake. There's a Renaissance zone in place through 2022, brownfield plan in place that goes through 2029. And right now they are repaying the loan that was part of the financing package for that property from the MDEQ. And eventually when they start to capture TIF after the REN zone runs out, they'll get reimbursed for that. The 334 River Street project on the bottom there, Tony Golden Apple, that's going to have some residential and commercial uses. There's a 10-year brownfield plan in place. And the future TIF revenue capture is limited at $35,000 for that. Currently, that project isn't developing any, or isn't generating any TIF because the value is less than what it was when it first was put on the market. But hopefully that will come on. What are the brownfield projects in progress? Well, the biggest one is the South Washington area, known as River Park, and the building right next to it there, North Channel Outlet. There's a lot of different components of that project. City Council has approved a brownfield plan, and the city has applied for a light grant. The developers informed us that they just recently received bank financing for that project, so we're excited about that. We're going to have a meeting with them on Thursday. Hopefully that plan will start to move ahead, and we'll see some construction yet this summer, so that's really encouraging news. One of the things that will be coming back in front of City Council at some point will be the developer agreement on that particular project, so stay tuned for that. But that'll be really nice to get that eyesore cleaned up and into a productive state. So we're really excited about that, and hopefully that can just keep moving forward in a stepwise process. There's also a pretty good sizable public infrastructure component, as you may recall, the Riverbank sewer line and some work along there and other aspects of that as well. And so that's going to be part of the discussion on Thursday as to the timing of that. Keep in mind, this project doesn't pay for that up front. That's why we had the bond for it, but it will give us reimbursements over the period of the tax increment financing plan to help pay for that. A couple of projects that are in planning, Hotel Northern, 141 Washington Street. Our consultant has had, and Denise and myself have had meetings with the developers on that. As you know, with developments, they sometimes go in fits and starts. So this one, we've been busy with it, and it's kind of taken a lull for a while, but hopefully that'll continue to move forward. The old Hoganson building, and then the general chemical site, which is just adjacent to Reeve Riley, we've been looking at with Reeve Riley as well. Some other authority activities, we assisted the Housing Commission in demolishing the former Manistee plating site. And you can see the lower, on the left side where it was before and after with the parking lot there. So that really ties together our Housing Commission properties nicely. We've done a little bit of work on the H&K building downtown, that restoration. And then also some conceptual planning on the Blix building for the redevelopment ready communities. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to item D, consideration of street closure and Back to the Bricks Car Show. The Manistee Main Street DDA is hosting the Back to the Bricks Car Show on Sunday, June 14, 2015. The event will require the closure of River Street from Division to Oak Streets from 2:30 to 8:30 p.m., with the show beginning at 3 p.m. The show involves approximately 150 antique and show vehicles. The event draws a large crowd to the downtown area. Is there a motion to authorize the Back to Bricks Car Show event?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the Back to Bricks Car Show event downtown associated with the road closure, Sunday, June 14th.
Sorry.
A motion by Councilmember Goodspeed, supported by Councilmember Whitliff, to authorize the Back to Bricks Car Show event.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to amend that motion. We have that day is Flag Day, and the Eagles have an event planned in front of their facility, so we'd like to amend the Elks, I'm sorry. So we'd like to amend it to close River Street only as far as Maple, leave it open from Maple down to Oak, but then close Division from Lake to River, that would allow the use of the Eagles parking lot for this operation. And once that's done, we might as well close River from 31 to Division as well. So the River Street closure would go from 31 to Maple and then stop, but we would also add Division from Lake to River. Those changes are acceptable to both parties, and we recommend you proceed on that basis.
And I would like to thank all parties concerned with my request. A member of the Elks Flag Days significant ceremony is held by all of the lodges on the same day nationwide. It's well attended. We'll have the VFW, Catholic War Veterans, Boy Scouts, and other activities performing this ceremony at 4 o'clock. And I would encourage everybody to attend because it's a history of flags, what the folds of a flag mean, and it's really kind of a moving ceremony for a lot of people. But I thank Pat and I thank Ben for cooperation on my request to amend the closure to facilitate that.
Do we need verbal or change to the
Whoever
motion?
made the motion would say, as amended, we'd be good to go.
As amended.
Good to go.
Is there any discussion on the amendment?
No, I appreciate both parties working together, and I think from an exposure standpoint, I think it's a nice combination of, both some heritage and tradition, along with some great cars and events to bring some people to Manistee. So, thank you.
Any other comment? Thank you. Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to concerns and comment. Citizen comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments, which are limited to 5 minutes, and letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Is there anyone who'd like to comment? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Carol Pascal. My address is 610 Spruce Street. My comments refer to 3 things that were discussed today: the Riverwalk, historical buildings, and what was the other one? I'll get to it when I'm talking. My sister recently sent me an article that appeared in the Minneapolis Star Tribune of a couple that happened to be traveling in northern Michigan, and they stopped in 3 cities, Petoskey, Charlevoix, and Manistee. They commented on how beautiful our beaches were, how wonderful it was to walk the Riverwalk, and how astounding it was to have 27 historical buildings that they could look at while they were here. They had a picture in the article in the travel section of, that great big slide that's at First Street Beach that everybody thinks is like this too tall slide? She was sitting on it because she said it gave such a wonderful view of Lake Michigan to sit up on that slide. So it was a wonderful article, and I was just proud of Manistee.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to comment?
Once again, Gary Kotowski, 159 Quincy Street. First thing I want to do is welcome our new council members and our interim city manager. I've been in Manistee for just a few days now. I get out and talk to a lot of people. I've visited a lot of different restaurants and businesses, and there's a glimmer of hope for Manistee based on the changes that occurred, and that's good to see. Quickly, I just want to make a statement about what happened last August, and that was someone accused me on the city council of something that was incorrect, and I would like anyone who wants to accuse me or talk to me on the city council, please do it when I'm here, so I don't have to put an ad in the paper again stating what happened incorrectly and falsely. I want to talk to some specific numbers of in the budget. First one I want to talk to is the $10,000 reduction in the Ransville operating subsidy. Well, it kind of looks like the oldest accounting game ever. We're going to report a $10,000 reduction in subsidy, but we're going to use $18,800 of the cash on hand to subsidize Ramsville. So I mean, let's be more than, let's not paint a pretty picture. And hopefully it's not going to be a setup saying, oh, look how we improved last year just because we're using on-hand cash, which came from subsidies in previous years. The next thing I want to talk to is the $103,000 500 short-term loan that was made to the marina in 2014. I went back, I was shocked when I saw it in the budget this year. So I went back to last year's budget, not in there. I went back to 2014 minutes. They replaced it short-term in 2016, and they also make no loan payment to oil and gas fund. And I understand that 2-year period of not making payments has expired. So I would love to see the projection and analysis that was done to say the Ramsville could, the marina could start making payments after 2 years. It's been a total failure. Losing my spot here, but I'll get to it. Now I watch, even though when I'm gone from Manistee, I watch very closely what's going on here. So I watched and listened this year. I listened to the escalated costs of repairing the water tank and the sewer pump station because money was spent on non-essentials versus the critical items. I listened to the bond issuance. I listened to the signature note that Mayor Kenny, you made to the street committee's report, which I know was taken very badly by the street committee and what was viewed as being disrespectful of the work they did. In addition, the Filer City negotiations, that was totally a disaster, it sounds like. Hopefully that has been improved. I listened to the water and sewer billing errors. Of course, we had a great presentation by Mr. Terry. I think that was great that he did on the Ramsville, and it showed basically his comments were in line with I think what the community's been saying over the last 2 years. But what amazed me most over the last few months here was with all these issues in Manistee.
You have 1 minute.
We had 2 council members who decided not to vote for a change. Well, I commend every one of you guys who voted for a change. Mr. Cody, Mr. Smith, Mr. Zielinski, Mr. Whitlock, Mr. Goodspeed. It's good to see that we're actually moving forward or want to move forward with a change. Comment about Brad at the Brownsfield. It would be nice if Brownsfield would have some type of plan for US 31 North. Because I'll tell you, how many visitors...
30 seconds.
How many would-be visitors pass right to Manistee based on what they see? And I'm in line with this lady right here in regards low-cost, low-income housing that we say we need for Manistee. The moderate-income old people are sadly passing and not being replaced. This community is going to be in hard problems. But please, let's keep the glimmer of hope. Let's keep the glimmer of hope.
You're done. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Now we'll move on to officials and staff. City clerk,
Nothing, Your Honor.
interim city manager,
Nothing, Your Honor.
city attorney,
Nothing, Your Honor.
finance director,
Nothing, Your Honor.
sergeant, DPW director.
I have to take the opportunity to just remind everybody the community build for Rocket Park, June 18, 19, and 20. please call the Public Works office or stop by, sign up for a volunteer shift. We'll take any help. It's a lot of fun. I've participated in several of those. The construction's coming along very well. All the equipment arrived yesterday and is stored at the Public Works yard, so really looking forward to it. Hope to see you out there.
Thank you. City engineer.
Nothing here.
Councilmember Cody.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Zalinski.
Just want to thank the DPW, they do a great job down there. I stick my nose in there every day because I like construction. I even try to change cars so they don't see me, they don't notice me. Doing a good job, thanks.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
I want to know where we're going for rockets. Where's the old rocket going? And I'm getting too many people, and me too, save the rocket. Put it somewhere.
Forgive me, the answer on where the rocket is going is still up in the air.
Whatever. You know where's the rocket going? I don't want to see you sold until.
We don't know yet.
When will we find out?
Soon.
Who's going to make this decision?
Undecided.
Still over here.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes, I would like to thank whoever's responsible for the cleanup of some of the debris on North 31 going out of town. I was by there today and it looked considerably better. Hopefully we'll continue on those efforts and make things presentable coming and going to the city of Manistee. Thank you.
Councilmember Whitman.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Nothing, Your Honor.
I have nothing, so I will take a motion to adjourn to a closed session to discuss the union contract negotiations.
I'll make that.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Cody, supported by Councilmember Goodspeed to adjourn into